afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. And welcome to our expert webinar, not your typical AI webinar, 4 practical tips for real results, brought to you by our friends at Elder Research. I'm Brian Mink, co-founder and president of Data Science Connect, the world's largest data and AI ecosystem for enterprise leaders. Today, we're excited to welcome hundreds of attendees from all over the world to discuss one of the biggest threats to your AI success, your data. Quality issues like inconsistency, bias, and missing context can quietly stall even the most promising initiatives. In this session, our expert panel will share hard-earned lessons from the field on how to avoid these pitfalls and make data quality a competitive advantage. We'll explore practical strategies for strengthening data governance, spotting hidden data issues before they impact performance, and linking data issues directly to business outcomes. If you ever launched an AI project that didn't quite land, this is the conversation you've been waiting for. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. To make this feel a little more in person, we suggest you add a photo to your profile and include your bio, LinkedIn profile, and other information you want your fellow attendees to see. Next, please take advantage of the Q&A and chat features in the right sidebar. We'll be addressing your questions at the end of the webinar, so be sure to upvote the questions you'd like the panel to address. If you're wondering where your organization stands compared to others on your AI journey, check out the poll questions in the right sidebar. And finally, to learn more about how to drive ROI on your next AI initiative, check out the call to action below throughout the webinar from Elder Research. Now, without further ado, I want to hand things over to our first presenter, Leah Severance, Director of Commercial Business Development at Elder Research. Welcome, Leah, and I'll pull your slides up as well.
Thank you so much, Brian. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As we get started, there is a poll question you'll find in the navigation section on the side of the screen. Look for a bar chart symbol on the side, and you'll be able to find it there. Brian's going to close this in just a minute. So we'd like to invite you to go ahead and respond to that question. As Brian mentioned, my name is Leah Severance. I am the Director of Commercial Business Development at Elder Research, and I'll be your facilitator for the webinar. There's a lot of content to share, so I just wanted to provide a brief overview of what to expect. We've got 4 great presenters today. They'll be sharing from personal experiences of client engagements. And to make this more interactive, we'll throw in another poll, and also we'll address your questions and comments at the end of the session. I'm going to kick this off with some information about Elder Research and why we've seen the need for business transformation with AI initiatives. And if you've not heard of Elder Research and you're wondering who we are, or why should I listen to them, or even what's with the name Elder Research, just a little bit of information. Our founder, John Elder, is a world-renowned data scientist, author, and teacher. And he started the company over 30 years ago. This was when big data and predictive modeling came on the scene. And we've remained focused as a data science and analytics consultancy firm all this time, embracing AI models as soon as they were available. Our firm partners with Fortune 500 companies across many different industries, as well as government, public sector, and nonprofit organizations. And just to help you understand how we play in this huge AI landscape, we partner with our clients based on the level of support that they require. So we can support not only with design and recommendations, but also with actually building and sustaining analytic and AI initiatives and solutions, and training and upskilling our clients' technical teams. And where we're different from AI solution providers is that we are actually product agnostic. So we can work with your applications, with our clients' applications that they already have, but we can also look for ways to integrate new technologies in a cost-effective way. So we're not here to sell you on a product. We are here to share what we've found to be successful methodology and some great tips as well for making your AI projects a success. So I'm going to shift gears for just a minute and talk a little bit about what you may be facing as you explore AI. We've got a great diverse group of attendees on the call today, so thank you for joining. Business and data leaders across a number of different enterprises, and also within departments such as finance, sales and marketing, operations, customer service, And we've also worked with others in these areas and consistently see that you're all under a ton of pressure now more than ever. So we know, in addition to navigating data and AI solutions, and not to raise your blood pressure here, but there's challenges such as regulatory complexity, the rapid evolvement of technology, talent shortages, executive demand, shifting priorities, and we get it. Every request for analytic investments and the many requirements that go along with this all have to be a part of these competing demands for your attention. So when executing an AI project, a really big question that we find is often on the minds of data leaders is, are we actually solving the right business problem? And unfortunately, data leaders are often pressured to take action without being able to address this fundamental challenge. When that happens, it often leads to project failure. Project failure, that 80% that's on that slide, is actually quite conservative based on a number of recent studies. And failed data science projects are keeping a lot of organizations from achieving their business goals. Here's some of the stories we've heard, and you might, hopefully you haven't dealt with this, but maybe you have. Teams working on multi-year data and AI projects that never actually reach deployment. Maybe a team, what they consider successfully deploying a solution, but the business couldn't or wouldn't apply and act on the insights. Another one that we've heard is a blown budget on a solution that didn't solve the right problem, and now there's not money to really address the right ones. Or a strategy report with recommendations for everything except how to actually implement the solution. And finally, one that's quite problematic and one that we often address with our clients is the one-size-fits-all solution, that black box approach that actually gave the client as well as all their competitors the same information. In essence, no competitive edge, no unique customized approach. So if you've gone through this, or maybe you haven't started your AI projects because you're aware of all of these issues, you're not alone. We actually did have our share of failed projects in the first decade that we were in existence. And what we learned through all of these project failures is that data and AI success is not just about deploying a technical solution. It's really about business transformation. So over the last decade, we've established a framework that helps guide our work with clients. And because of that, it's been a game changer, and it's resulted in a greater than 90% success rate with our clients when we work through this framework with them. So I'm going to share a little bit about our business transformation framework with you, just to kind of prep you as we move into our speakers. This is visually represented, as you can see, with puzzle pieces, because they all fit together and rely on each other. Each one is vital to ensure a positive outcome with an AI project. Projects can miss one of these pieces and kludge you through, but oftentimes they'll circle back and derail success down the line. So with each of these 4 categories, they're made up of many different building blocks, and we don't have time to cover them all, but we're going to focus on an important concept within each piece. To begin with, we're going to focus on business strategy. This is vital to beginning an AI project, and this piece engages key leadership and business stakeholders along with the technology. This helps to identify the greatest business needs where data and AI projects can make an impact. I'm going to hand over the mic to our first presenter, Ramsey, who will walk through a foundational element within business strategy.
Thank you, Leah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ramsey Ziadi. I've been with Elder Research for over 6 years now. I'm the Learning Engagement Manager for our B2B partners. I work with wonderful, humble, and super smart data and AI practitioners, some of whom are with me on the call. And it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. I'm going to open my talk by mentioning an idea from the article by Sarah Brown titled Data Literacy for Leaders, and sourced from MIT Sloan School of Management. It boils down to this: leaders need to speak the language of data so that they can set strategy and drive fluency efforts throughout the organization to create a culture of trust in data. So with that in mind, I want you to ask yourselves this question. Do our leaders have the data and AI fluency to ask the right questions, to propose the right projects, and to empower our people? And this AI and data fluency question matters because, number one, it's important to accelerate AI maturity and lead innovation. If you do not foster a data-driven culture and teach your people to take full advantage of AI, you risk being left behind. You also risk having unhappy or unfulfilled people who are learning and developing professionally. Number two reason it matters is because you want to maximize project efficiency and implementation. So as a leader or product or solution owner, if you do not raise the right questions, point out the important gaps, how do you expect to define and solve the correct problem? How do you get buy-in from leadership and decision makers to implement a successful solution? How do you communicate AI metrics and model performance to both folks who have experience and who are inexperienced in AI? And you also need to know how to bring people along, overcome resistance, and become better at change management. The third reason it matters is collaboration across the organization. To different extents, people need to be able to communicate and collaborate on AI. Executives need to set strategy and direction. Directors and managers need to be able to approve and scrutinize the right projects. And AI practitioners need to be able to collaborate in order to deliver results. All right, so for our example, for one of our partners, it's a CPG company, consumer packaged goods company. We'll call them CPG to protect their privacy. Was very honest in their assessment when asking themselves the question on AI and data fluency. This is a Fortune 100 company with tens of billions of dollars in yearly sales. They have countless projects and data-driven decision opportunities. So empowering their analysts and leaders and further upskilling their data scientists was critical. So to find the solution, we honed in on what they do best. We isolated the gaps and basically determined what the missing pieces are, what learning opportunities will add value to the company, because there's no sense reinventing the wheel or giving them something they do not need. We collaborated with very motivated leaders, including the VP of their enterprise data science organization. And their VP was tasked with leading the data and AI fluency initiative across the company. And after specifically defining our goals, this collaboration culminated in a robust, cutting-edge, company-specific, customized AI learning program. All right, so this is how we designed the training program. These 5 learning elements can each have different importance depending on the need. And of course, they can be tweaked. At the same time, we wanted to be mindful of how much time employees will be afforded to spend on the training so that we can respect their work-study balance and also respect any budgetary limitations. And that's what's in the box on the right. We collaborated with CPG to isolate the gaps and the learning opportunities and to understand what elements are most important to achieve their goals. And as we mentioned already, this involved many experts, including VP level decision makers. And as you can see in this visual, CPG placed a lot of weight on live instruction, on support, and on project mentoring. So our client and partner wanted they wanted us to use CPG specific data and use cases. And in addition to that, these here, excuse me, are the AI concepts and techniques we decided would be very important for their team to learn. I will only comment on a few because of time. So for example, we discuss the machine learning process or life cycle from defining the problem all the way through validating, deploying, and eventually monitoring the model. We also teach them how to do proper model validation, proper feature selection, and we also share with them the worst biases, mistakes, problems, traps that data scientists and AI practitioners fall into and how to avoid them. In addition to machine learning concepts, there were specific algorithms that were deemed important for the type of work and the type of projects that CPG AI practitioners do every day. Examples of that are time series, because of course, sales forecasting, clustering, neural nets, foundation models, and generative AI. The course was transformative for many. Business analysts who simply ran data through Excel became more sophisticated. Data scientists added much to their toolbox, and leaders became better at communicating on AI and on setting strategy. So this last slide shows how the return on training investment is proportional to the motivation and the participation effort of the students themselves. So those who were fully engaged, taking advantage of all the training elements, were the exceptional participants indicated on this chart. Several of their projects resulted in models going into production or enhancements on currently deployed models and data-driven processes. This in turn saved the company millions, in some cases tens of millions of dollars in recurring yearly savings. This customized course became the most challenging and sought after upskilling in the company. Our engagement with this partner was not limited to data science. We went on to designing courses and programs that focused on ML engineering, ML ops, coding best practices, soft skills, AI for executives, and much more. I will leave you with a couple of quotes from so many we received over the years. One from a VP level participant expressing how this customized program does a superior job in educating than the mainstream platforms and the master's programs out there. And the other from an analyst who found this to be the best learning experience in their entire career at CPG. So with that, I will now turn it back to Leah.
Thank you so much, Ramsey. This is a pretty intense example of how we've worked with clients for data literacy. But in general, if leaders and business owners understand how data solutions apply to solving business problems, it really makes a difference in being able to achieve what you're going after. So thank you for that. We're going to move on now to resource allocation. This focuses on a myriad of resources for all aspects of an AI project's success. And our next speaker, Shaylee, is going to present on a critical component of resource allocation. So take it away, Shaylee.
And I've been a data scientist with ERI for about 4 years. And in that time, I've gotten to work with several great companies and be a part of seeing some of these principles applied. So I'm excited to speak to resource allocation with you all today. So our core question here is, do we prioritize analytic projects according to the business value they deliver? I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Your analytics backlog can have 30 project ideas, but maybe you can only staff about 5 of them. How can you choose? Sometimes a team might choose poorly, simply because they may be using gut feel instead of a deliberate framework. And as a result, some of your best people could spend months on projects that deliver minimal impact, while transformational opportunities collect dust. When you're allocating limited resources across too many ideas, the cost of getting it wrong is painfully high. So we need to ensure we have effective prioritization because, first, it will enable strategic focus. When we channel our resources towards high ROI analytics, we can maximize our impact. And when we can clearly communicate a project's value, we can secure stakeholder buy-in, which is essential for implementation because we all know a powerful product that does not get implemented is going to deliver zero value. Second, it's going to allow us to avoid wasted effort on roadblocks. Without knowing what data is available or which stakeholders we need, we can't properly assess feasibility. If we don't prioritize properly at the beginning, we can end up chasing multiple low probability projects, spreading ourselves thin and diluting our impact. And third, it can help us prevent resource drain and team burnout. Spending time on projects that aren't achievable or won't deliver value can be demoralizing. It can waste your team's talent on dead end roads and spread their efforts across so many projects they can't effectively complete them. All right. So I'm going to give you an example that happened to us with a great client. We were working with a cross-functional team on a predictive model that could help increase customer satisfaction. The project was going well. The stakeholders were engaged and the results in production were being met with positive feedback. But then our success started to create its own problems. The team was energized and multiple ideas started to flow through multiple different ideas and multiple different people. We started asking, what if we applied the model predictions to a different team? Could we extend this to predict customer churn? Should we build a real-time alerting system? All of these ideas had merit and could have positive impact for the business. But now our focus project team was beginning to fragment. Different subgroups were investigating different possibilities. Some were exploring real-time data pipelines, others were meeting with new stakeholders for model application, and others were still on iterating on the original project. Our unintended consequence was our original project started slipping. The model improvements that would deliver value in the near term were getting delayed while we chased ideas that might deliver value someday. So the plan we created was to pause. We stopped and decided to schedule a half-day brainstorming and prioritization session with the entire cross-functional team. We had many different voices and we all needed to get on the same page. So as a result of this brainstorming session, we were able to make clear priority decisions. We were laser focused on where to use our resources, and we were able to do quick wins with our satisfaction model and transition to a completely new major project with clear goals and proper resources. So I'm going to start discussing how we specifically went from chaos to clarity and one way you could replicate this. We understood that we needed a process that was going to make value visible and comparable. Otherwise, we would continue to get derailed by all of our good ideas. In that half-day session, we started by getting every single idea on the table. There was no judgment. We were just trying to capture everyone's thoughts. We identified multiple distinct concepts from quick model tweaks to entirely new applications. Then, after we got all of our ideas out on the table, we asked 3 hard questions for projects that stood out the most. The first question we began to ask was, what is the impact? If this works perfectly, what's the business value, whether in terms of dollars earned and saved, or if there is no monetary impact that can be clearly defined, what is our audience impact? Whether our audience is customers, vendors, or internal operations, we needed clarity so we could align on what matters most. The second question we asked was, what will be the expended effort? What would this actually require? Do we have all the data infrastructure or do we need to build it? Do we understand our end user well enough? Do we know how many roles will be involved in the execution of this project? And 3, what is the feasibility? Can we realistically execute this with the current resources and timelines we have? With all of this out on the table, every single idea, and trying to delineate what the pros and cons were, we were able to plot all of our ideas onto a matrix. This matrix allowed us to identify impact versus effort for our select projects. You can see how when you look at the impact versus the amount of effort, you start to get a bigger picture of where you might align your efforts. So when we were looking at our examples, we were able to implement several quick wins, small model enhancements we could ship within a few weeks. We identified a major project, a customer prediction initiative with the clearest ROI, and we had that fully scoped out with the dedicated resources understood. And then we were able to just park the rest of our ideas. They were good concepts, but it was simply the wrong timing and should be revisited later. With the prioritization clarity, we were able to move quickly as a unified team, no longer fragmented. And another benefit to having a clear prioritization framework is everyone should understand why certain projects are getting our resources and others don't. There's no politics, no guessing, no squeaky wheel gets greased. We are transparent on what is providing the business value. I think we all can relate where we've seen a lot of organizations don't lack good project ideas. They perhaps just lack a structured way to evaluate those ideas against business value and make resourcing decisions that everyone can get behind. When you implement a clear framework, you transform your analytics from a cost center doing just interesting work, things that caught our eyes, into a strategic function delivering measurable business impact. And in today's world, where AI has opened even more possibilities, this discipline matters more than ever. Too many good ideas can result in diluted impact. A proper framework ensures that you're saying yes to resourcing the right things. And with that, I will turn it back over to Leah.
All right. Thank you so much, Shaylee. And actually, that alignment exercise works across so many applications. If you're interested in getting that, we're going to provide that within a very useful guide at the end of the presentation. So stay tuned for that. We're going to move on to our third area of business transformation, dealing with project execution. And this encompasses all of the hard work and the requirements needed to get to those data insights. As you can imagine, a huge percentage of that is related to getting your data in order. So thanks, Josh, for joining the webinar to share from your experience.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. My name is Josh Fairchild. I'm a technical business analyst with Elder Research. And recently, my wife and I actually celebrated our 11th anniversary. It was actually our first one in a new city. We had just moved. And I had a problem. I had no clue what to take her for dinner. And I stressed about it for over a week because I felt like I was going in blind. I just had no clue where to take her. I remembered I had ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT where to take my wife for our special occasion, picked its top recommendation, and made a reservation that afternoon. It was going to be perfect. You're thinking there's no way he did that. And you'd be right. I would never trust my anniversary dinner decision purely to a chatbot. So I continue my search. I checked Yelp, Reddit. There were so many opinions, but I didn't know who or what to trust. This review almost convinced me to try a place called Trust. Could I really trust this user named Ghost Face Dorito? I don't know. Maybe I should have. But then it came to me. I had some married friends in town, so I messaged my friend Chris. I got a few recommendations and made a decision that I was confident in because I trusted the source. I trusted Chris. And the food that night was awesome. It was a great night. Well, I want you to think back to the last time that you had a bad case of decision paralysis. You're faced with a decision where you just couldn't pull the trigger. Maybe it was work related. Maybe like me, it was personal. But what causes us to get stuck in these moments? What causes our teams, our clients, our leaders to get stuck in moments of decision paralysis? I believe that more often than not, it's because we're lacking a sufficient amount of trusted data to make the decision. And all we have to go with is our gut, our intuition. And that can be a really uncomfortable place to be. And this is where project execution can stall out. We can nail business strategy, we can handle resource allocation, but if we get to project execution and are lacking trusted data, we're going to get stuck. This applies to all variety of projects, but especially to projects that integrate AI, where our default at times may be to distrust the data, just like I did planning my date. So the next question we're going to look at is, where are we still making gut decisions because the data isn't reliable, accessible, or timely? In other words, where are we lacking the trusted data necessary to make confident, data-driven decisions? This question is so important because project execution cannot be sustained by gut-level decision-making. And without trusted data, we will make subpar decisions at best, or at worst, we'll get stuck in decision paralysis. Well, this past year, we worked with a client dealing with this exact issue. We worked with an enterprise analytics team at a quick service restaurant corporation that faced an enormous challenge. They were to do three things. First, they had to curate a collection of legally sensitive data sets for restaurant labor. Think things like employee PII, hourly wages, sick leave. They were then to provide access to that data in a way that provided value to the enterprise and to individual restaurants. And then thirdly, most importantly, they were to ensure that this PII and other sensitive data was not misused. So just talk about a case of analytics heartburn. It was a tall order. And there were a lot of analytics teams clamoring for access to this data because it was interesting and because it had valuable applications. So for this team, the stakes were high. The data was valuable and needed to be disseminated, but a wrong decision could land the enterprise in legally hot water. Well, when we came on board with the team, they had a backlog of data access requests going back over a year. The team was frustrated, unsure how to move forward, and the data was not being used to its full potential. So we started with the discovery process, and through that, what we came to understand was that the team was struggling because they did not have reliable, accessible, timely data to use in their decision making. Because the team didn't have trusted data, they weren't making decisions, or they were taking so long to come to decisions that stakeholders requesting access to this data had long moved on. So as we worked with this team to understand their challenges, we uncovered three main issues and helped them develop solutions for each of those issues. And I'm going to go through those briefly. The first issue was that their current process was undefined. They were so busy slogging through their request backlog, grappling with incoming requests as well, that they just didn't have the time, the person power to design a clear roadmap of how their ideal process should work. The team struggled due to a lack of formal process, and as a result, it took much longer than necessary for trusted data to get into the hands of decision makers. In other words, they had a timeliness issue. The second issue was that the team did not have reliable data to use in decision making. They had been using an outdated data access request form to collect submissions from stakeholders. This form was confusing to stakeholders. It didn't collect all of the information needed for the team to make confident decisions. And the result was that the data was not reliable enough for decision making. And the third challenge was that the team was just bogged down with too many tools. Maybe you've been there. I know I've been there as well. Data related to their project was not accessible anywhere because it was available everywhere. Information was strewn across Miro, Confluence, Excel, email chains, Teams channels. They just didn't know where to go. Decision making was difficult because there was no single tool or application they could go to in order to access the data needed to make decisions. So those were some of the challenges. To help this team, we worked with them together to create three solutions. The first is that we analyzed their current process and ideal state and create a process map to guide them and to help them work more efficiently. The result of this was that they were able to collect and curate data requests more efficiently for faster decision making, as it served as a map for how they would go about their work. Next, we helped the team design a new intake request form that collected a robust set of business and technical requirements from the users. This form also made those more legally challenging use cases easier to flag. This provided the team with a reliable set of data that empowered them to make confident decisions. And then finally, to help the team more easily access data needed for their projects, we designed an automated process using Power Automate that populated a Jira board with the data access requests from that form that we designed for them. And this provided a single source of truth for the team to use when accessing information for collaborative decision making. Well, since this project wrapped up last year, we've continued to track with the team, and we've seen the team experience continued success and growth as a result of our partnership. By helping the client make data-driven decisions with trusted data, they now experience less stress and more effective decision-making. Stakeholders requesting data experience less frustration, and we're seeing more value be generated from restaurant labor data for the organization. So as I close out, just want to ask, what about you? As you think about your work, your teams, your organization, where are your projects stalling out? And could it be because of a lack of trusted data? Is there a lack of timely, reliable, accessible data that is making decision-making a challenge? If your data is sourced by AI tools, this question matters even more. So if that's the case, I would encourage you to think about what systems, tools, or processes may be contributing towards the degradation of trusted data on your projects and on your teams. I really believe that if we all took the time to evaluate our current projects in light of these questions, that we'd find significant opportunities for growth. So thanks for listening. Back to you, Leah.
All right, thank you so much, Josh. We are on to our final piece of the puzzle here. And I just want to remind folks, if you've got any questions that you'd like to post, go ahead and do that, because we'll be switching over to answering questions at the end of Stephen's presentation. So our final piece is on strategic deliverables, sort of self-explanatory, but basically all the project outputs, insights, visualizations that come in so many forms, but are all dependent on the underlying data. So Stephen is going to be speaking as well to a piece of this puzzle related to the importance of achieving sustainable data with AI deliverables. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, everyone. Thanks. Thank you, Leah. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Assink. I'm a TBA, technical business analyst. I work with one of our clients on their customer data product teams. In this role, I work with several teams who are using customer data for their AI and ML models and projects. As part of this team, we aim to deliver quality data products across the enterprise. So I've been able to see firsthand how having good data visibility or good visibility and communication on your data assets is super important key for AI and ML teams. So I wager that many individuals wish they had better insights and transparency into the data sources that their teams and their models rely on. Again, as we know, the most sophisticated AI and product or ML model is only as good as the underlying data it uses. So the question I want to ask today and explore is, do AI teams have good visibility on their source of truth? So why does visibility and insights into the data sources that you or your teams use matter? Well, first, data that feeds AI models and applications can change. Tables get updated, they get retired, there's data quality challenges arise on a periodic basis. And unforeseen changes, issues around the data can cause, as we know, AI pipelines to fail or models to become stale. So what can teams do? So we'll get into this more shortly, but essentially establishing service level agreements or SLAs and robust communication is key to helping AI teams stay informed about any changes or issues that may occur with their data. Okay, so I'm gonna share an example. And so who on this call, I'm sure, has seen an alert like this in some capacity. Definitely should have preface this with a trigger warning, because it probably caused a lot of palpitations on this call. It's been an issue, I'm sure, for many who has seen issues with their data pipelines and data sets where something occurred upstream to the model, and then a change, and then downstream consumers were unaware, and then their pipelines causing their pipelines to fail. So recently, I happened to be on a call with a partner AI data product team or AI product team that was planning on using an LLM for some classification analysis. They were telling us about this work. What they didn't know was that the underlying data set that they were using was getting completely rewritten in the near term. I mean, in less than a month. Now, while my team that I was on was not in charge of the upcoming changes, we did fortunately know about it and were able to, on that call, inform that AI team that, hey, there's some changes coming up. All the work that you're doing is going to have to be redone because the underlying data that the team was using was being, there are new schemas, there's new types of data. It wasn't just minor changes, it was completely reworking of the underlying data. And now I was able to catch this for them, just kind of happenstance, kind of be on the call. We were just talking about some data, and by doing so, prevented some lost work and saving them time and money. So, and I think this example captures a key point for, I think, many AI and ML teams, where that is, these teams need to ensure that the data that they're currently working on or planning to working on will be the same, or if changes are going to be made, that they will be alerted, because, again, without good data, the most sophisticated models are irrelevant. So to help prevent unforeseen changes like the one I described, I think there are a couple key ways that AI teams, data product teams, data owner teams can do to work together to prevent this. First, it's simply just setting up a service level agreement between either AI teams and data product teams, or AI teams and data owner teams. And this, so what does an SLA include? I would say you have expectations around the timeliness of new data. So when to arrive, expectations related to data quality, support channels that teams can go to if they do see an issue arise, like if their models become stale, what's going on, and communication about updates or changes to the data. That is, if an SLA is changing, there is an expectation that any affected teams will be informed. So a second way I want to share sounds simple, but it's simply setting up robust communication practices around data. So if you are on a data product team like myself, this could be having a dedicated communications channel for updates or issues with enterprise data sets. I'd say having regular meetings with stakeholders that could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, about, hey, there's this new data set that's being retired, or there's a big schema change that's happening. And finally, when something is planned, just send out a communication. That could be via email, that can be messaging, that could be a channel alert if you have one set up. So an example I'm going to provide here is just a simple blast to a public channel. Can help create awareness around upcoming changes. At the time of the conversation that I had with that AI team, there had not been any formal or personal communication in any way with the team. With the team that was making the changes to the data. They had not heard anything about that. And it was like about a month away. And so since then, fortunately, I was able to talk to them. Those data owners of the data that was changing reached out to all their stakeholders and even scheduled a one-on-one call with the AI team to give them a little bit more information about what was coming down the pipeline. So at the core of good AI products, that's often not talked about, is simply just effective communication between teams. And these practices I've shared really just two easy, simple ways that can be done to accomplish that. That can go very far in building trust and between different teams and across the organization. So as you think about your own organization's AI products and the usage around AI and ML, I definitely would encourage you to think about how you can build better communication and trust across your teams. That's it for me. Now back to you, Leah.
All right, thanks so much. All right, we're going to jump to another poll. So we want to know which of these areas you may be experiencing the most challenge, and we'd like to hear from you. So if you'll take a moment and answer that poll real quick, we'll be able to look at the results. And just to kind of summarize what we discussed on the 4 tips for business strategy to be effective, leadership and business owners need to, at the very least, have a baseline of data fluency. For organizations to get the greatest ROI on their analytic investments, Shaylee shared the importance of projects being prioritized based on their business value. And Josh shared that successful project execution happens when the organization's data is reliable, accessible, and trusted. And Stephen's example demonstrated that when all models and analytic outputs use a single source of truth, the organization can trust and act on the data insights. So we do have a gift for you. You can download a publication to support you in your AI data journey. And you can click that to download that today. That is going to summarize a number of the practical examples that we discussed, and it has some additional information, and it has exercises for your team to go through in each of these areas. So I hope you'll find that useful. And then also you can reach out to me if you have additional questions, maybe something you didn't post, but you want to discuss more, or maybe some challenges that you're dealing with personally with your team. Would be happy to come on a call with you and discuss that further and bring team members on the call, technical team members that can help support and discuss that. So we're going to switch over. We got about 12 minutes left for Q&A. And if you have not posted questions in the chat, go ahead and do that. There were a couple questions posted initially for Ramsey. So I'm going to bring him on to answer a couple of those questions. Let me read those out real quick. So the first question, Ramsey, is how can you get all team members to become exceptional participants? Does it depend on base interest in AI, the intensity of the course, etc.? So Stanley, thank you for asking that question. Ramsey, take that away, please.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Stanley, thank you for the question. It's a great question. Don't we want everybody to be exceptional? You answered part of it, actually. So yes, to both your comments on the interest in AI and the intensity of the course. This particular course is indeed intense. It's 14 weeks long. CPG is so committed to making this work that they carve out weekly time for their participants so that they have the necessary work-study balance. And very importantly, their VP will not compromise the standards for the program. In other words, they have to go through a midterm, a final exam, a project evaluation, and a presentation. And in fact, a small percentage fail, and despite being screened and despite going through the basic prerequisites. This course kind of became like a badge as reputation grew within the company. So yes, basically that's it's going to take that kind of commitment to basically maximize how many of the students that participate become exceptional participants. And if I may answer the one more question from Mohammed about, well, obviously contact Leah for any needs, and then I can help in any way I can. But the other question there was, is it use case based trainings? And the answer is yes. In the course, this particular course, we use data provided by CPG, and all the use cases that are used for teaching are based on typical consumer goods packaging type projects. And the cool thing in this particular program is that the participants are encouraged to select their actual project or part of the work they're doing on a daily basis to be the capstone project for the class. So in this way, CPG feeds two birds with one hand. They educate their team members, and at the same time, they get project mentoring on their actual work. So thank you for those questions. Thank you,
That's
Leah.
awesome. Okay, thank you, Ramsey. Stanley posed a question: where do you find most businesses falling short when it comes to the transformation framework? Oh my goodness. That's so many different examples, but I'll just answer what I've seen is not starting with business strategy and prioritizing based on that. So when I worked for Amazon Web Services, we would always say, start with the end in mind. And that's how you do it. You start with exactly what you want to achieve, and it's based on the business goal, and it's based on specific elements of that. Like, we want to retain X amount of customers. We want to grow the business by this percentage, so that everyone's thoughts are on how do we develop a data and analytic AI solution that specifically addresses that need. And then starting from there, going backward to design that. Anyone else on the team that would like to answer that question from their experiences? Putting you all on the spot here. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next question. There's a question here. What's a sign that a project should not be prioritized, even if it sounds exciting? Shaylee, since you shared about project prioritization, have you experienced a situation here where there's a sign of a project that should not be prioritized, even if it sounds exciting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sometimes, the good old answer holds true. Sometimes the data availability isn't there for what you need. So you really need to sit down and figure out, is this an important enough priority that we want to figure out how to utilize the data we have? Or is this something where we need to wait for the appropriate data or maybe push for it to be created? Because there can be really exciting things that maybe are not feasible in that moment. So we really need to know what avenue to take from there. And I think that is a trap that a lot of data analytic projects can fall into, because a lot of things, there's so many options. There's a world of options. A lot of things can be exciting and we want to push through, but just analyzing that feasibility is so important.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, we have another question here that either Stephen or Josh can respond to. How does improving data reliability directly change the speed, confidence, and collaboration of decision-making in an organization? That's a great question.
What do you say, Stephen? Do you want me to jump on it first?
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay. Well, I would say first of all, data reliability. I think first of all, it depends on what kind of decision making you want to make as an organization. I mean, data reliability doesn't have to matter at all, if you don't want to make data-driven decisions. But I think if you're wanting to make decisions that are, based on data, that have a solid source of truth, the reliability of that data makes all the difference in the world. This team that I've been working with recently, the issue was that, when they got the data in their hands to make decisions, it just wasn't trustworthy. It wasn't reliable. So they had to, go back and work with stakeholders to get the right data. And it just so much, sideways energy, so much wasted time, going back to data producers or going back to wherever we're getting our data from to get it into a state where it can be used for decision making. So I think if our teams, our processes, if our organizations are, if data reliability is, a foundational tenet of what we're trying to do as an organization, that can just reduce a lot of the kind of the waste of time and energy that gets taken by unreliable data.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback to that and add that. So I work with a lot of they work with customer data. Is mainly what we work in doing data products. We work with a lot of data scientists who use that data to do lifetime value modeling for customers, or will do some kind of other marketing or departments will use that data to do marketing campaigns. So it's a very high value data assets for the organization. And what we've seen, like these models and these marketing campaigns, there really is a premium on speed. You want your marketing campaign to have the best data or most up-to-date data around like what customers are buying, what's the value of those customers. And oftentimes when if a data pipeline breaks, or if you're using a legacy system that takes a couple of days to get fresh data in there, that can slow those models down, can slow marketing campaigns down. So seeing firsthand, I think it's both technological. So organization I've been working with and the teams is moving to better infrastructure and different technologies, upskilling and investing in that, but also data governance. You can have all the best technical, the fastest compute, the best storage, but if you're not having a good governance of expectations around fresh data, so if data is not reliable, who do you go talk to? How do you improve upon that? And those are, change management. Those are sticky things around working with people and developing, I would say, good habits and communication that goes hand in hand with the most sophisticated technology that you can apply to getting better pipelines and faster pipelines.
That's great. There's actually another question that came on that's, I think is a good piggyback to that. What are some good signs that teams have trust in the data being used for insights? Like what changes? What changes when teams start to trust in the data?
Well, I would most teams, like I've work with some, ML teams where if they don't trust it, they're not going to use it, and then you've got tech debt and data debt all over the place because no one really trusts data, or they're going to make their own data set, curate their own data that's siloed, and it's in their own cluster, their warehouse that no one else can get to. So I think if lack of trust definitely builds out silos and kind of data hoarding. That's what I've seen.
All right, we actually just have 1 minute. There were a few questions added late. We will be addressing all of them, so we'll get a list of all the questions. So we'll make sure that we do answer those. But I want to pass it back over to Brian to close us out, bring all the presenters back on the screen, and just thank you all again for joining us. We're happy to speak with you, so feel free to reach out and make it a great day.
Thanks, Leah, and thanks all of you for joining us. Great insights from all of our speakers today. If you missed any of the webinar or want to rewatch anything, the recording will be available just a few minutes after the webinar concludes. If you refresh this page, we'll also send out the link to the YouTube recording on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So thank you again to all of you for being with us today and for making this webinar possible. And we look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank y'all.